By with the ANC's Jesse Duarte and Vuyo, as our analyst was saying, and many have been saying, the stakes are massive this time for the ANC.
Very high indeed. In fact, I'm going to pick up on the last point of your discussion, Francis, with the Deputy Secretary General of the ANC. Back in studio at DSG, they were talking about the battle for Tshwane. How confident are you as the ANC that we're going to see a different outcome compared to 2016?
Well, you know, the pundits are saying it's quite close, but what we're seeing on the ground is a great enthusiasm for the ANC. I've just taken a round to the various VDs before I came back. There's still people voting. The queues are still quite strong. So it can go either way, but we believe that it might go in favor of the ANC because of the work that's been done very consistently by our Deputy President, who stayed here and didn't move out of Tshwane. So let's open, you know, we can only hope. The numbers will tell. But from where we're standing, it looks good. It looks good.
Is that true for the other metros as well? Because look, this election, truth be told, is going to be fought and lost, won and lost at the metros. What feedback are you getting from your Nelson Mandela base, from your Johannesburgs?
Johannesburg is it's up in the air. But to be quite honest with you, the concern is the voter turnout in Johannesburg. For us, is not good enough, and we really want to encourage people who haven't voted yet to go and vote. You find that in the suburban areas, there's the voter turnout looks good, but not in Soweto. Not in areas which matter, although let's say Ivory Park, Alex looks fantastic. Alex is really turning out. So Joburg, it's hard to tell right now. We were just busy calculating when you called us here. So I haven't really got a figure yet, but we would like to encourage people to go and vote. There's still time in Johannesburg. PE looks quite comfortable. We don't have figures yet. That's why I'm speaking like this. I don't think anybody's got figures yet, and I don't like to speak vaguely. eThekwini is good. The ANC looks quite solid there. Ekurhuleni looks solid. So we're a bit, you know, we're looking at Joburg quite hard at the moment to see what's going on there. West Cape Town, it rained a lot, so we don't have figures yet that gives us any kind of a sense of which direction it's going to go. But we're working on that. Everybody, I think, all parties are currently just working on their figures. It's that hour. You know, we're also interested to see how many people have voted globally. Yeah.
And outside of the hotly contested metros, any new things, interesting things, complaints? Is everything fine?
Okay, complaints, yes. One complaint we all dealing with is that in some areas about 32,000 voters have been turned away from VDs and sent elsewhere, and the message to them is to go back to the VD if they get a message from the IEC and vote. Those are people who stood in the queues and were told you don't belong to this VD. So they're waiting for the IEC to correct that. That's we've just been told by the PLC now that that has been corrected. And people who were turned away should watch out for a message from the IEC and then go to the appropriate voting station where the IEC directs them to go to.
See, of course, what happens in about 25 minutes or so. The IEC is going to hold a briefing and will let us know. Thank you very much for your time, the Deputy Secretary General of the African National Congress. We're going to try and see if we can speak to the EFF. We see their agents are here. Good morning, ma'am. How are you?
It's not morning, it's afternoon. It's almost evening, actually.
Sorry. It's been a long day.
It's been a long day, clearly. Yeah.
Your name, please.
My name is Umpile Maotwe. I'm the EFF Treasurer General.
Umpile, how has it been so far since 7 o'clock this morning? What is your assessment as leaders of the EFF?
So at 7 o'clock, the VD in Vosloorus was not open. Actually, it went up to close to just before 8 o'clock when they opened. And in my ward, there was a long queue, very long queue in the morning because the the voting management system device was on and off. It kept on going on and off. It didn't only happen in my ward, it also happened in the VD that the president and the commander-in-chief was voting in Seshego. And but other than that, there has been complaints that people are not appearing on the voters roll despite the fact that they registered to vote. You'll remember that during the 18th and the 19th September weekend registration, a lot of devices were not working. So as a result, people were captured manually, and the IEC had said that they will then capture them on a system on a Monday, and they will only receive SMSs. There's no proof that actually they went to register. And there was a concern that was raised by the EFF even at that time to say, normally, even when they register you manually, they would give a sticker that gets stuck in your ID, but here there was nothing that was given. So we're not yet surprised when we see them not appearing on the voters roll because they were never registered. You know, the IEC had lied to us to say they will register those people, so clearly those people are not registered. The third thing is that there's been an issue now that has been raised that the ink is actually removable. If you use a sanitizer, you are able to actually remove your ink. And when you approach the presiding officer, they said that no, the device will not allow you to vote. It will capture you. If they scan your ID, it will say you are registered to vote. But then the concern is that same device is not working. You know, the ink is removable, the device is not working. So how then do we prove that these people cannot vote twice? Because the ink was supposed to be an extra safety measure that prevents sort of those things. So they've already, done two things wrong in their own process. These devices were paid with taxpayers' money. A lot of money was paid into this thing. And also, they should have known with the experience of the voter weekend registration that these devices are not to be trusted. So they should have come up with plan B of what then do we do in that case. So we think that it's a deliberate thing by the IEC actually to sneak in people to come and vote, to multi-vote like they did in 2019. Here in Gauteng, there was multiple voting in Gauteng because I was also voting here. There was a Kumbi that had ANC voters wearing ANC t-shirts that were voting from one VD to the other. And we realized that we got to get that taxi very late in the afternoon. So we don't want that to happen. And all we're asking from the IEC is, we are the stakeholders here. It is us, the stakeholders, who must declare these elections free and fair. IEC cannot declare them free and fair on their own because they can't be a player and a referee at the same time. So they must really assist us in helping them to declare the elections free and fair. But with the way they are doing right now,
hopefully in about 20 minutes or so when that briefing starts, we will be able to put some of these questions to them as they give us a status report of how the day went. But very briefly, from your side as a party, how are things looking? Do you think people are voting for the EFF?
Of course, people are coming out in the numbers. I've been to various VDs. I started in my ward in Montana. From there, I drove to Hammanskraal. The people, when they see EFF t-shirts, you just wearing EFF t-shirt, they say, look, I'm coming from the voting station. I just voted for the EFF. And those that are coming in, they say, we're going to vote for the EFF. The people of South Africa are tired of lack of service delivery. 27 years later, people are still crying about flushing toilets, about water, about electricity. That's the cry of our people. We were promised better life for all in 1994. We stand here in 2021. We're still looking for that better life for all. We didn't know that the better life was for the elite politicians of the ANC alone and not the community. So the people of South Africa are really tired. They say they want change, and the only change is from the EFF, and they believe that the EFF
We'll see that from the results. But hey, it's good to be confident. That's Umpilo, who's the treasurer of the Economic Freedom Fighters. Let's hear. Let's get the DA's pulse right now. How is it looking, guys?
Voyo, good afternoon. It's looking very good. But I'm worried about the turnout in general. I think this will go down as the lowest turnout in local government history in South Africa at the rate that things are going. We're experiencing quite a lot of challenges with the IEC. Ballots that are not there, ballot papers that are not there, stations that are running out of ballot papers, and we are told they have to wait, in certain instances. The zip machines that are not working, which is also now a big concern, especially because now it looks like there's a trend where these machines tend to not work, and that is something that we're analyzing right now. We are now engaging with the national and the provincial IEC commissioners to then say we cannot continue like this.
Okay, we'll see what the IEC has to say in a short while when that briefing starts at 7 o'clock. But I want to go back to the very first point you make, that of turnout. Shouldn't politicians, by and large, solely take responsibility for that? Because, you know, it's about how you mobilize people to, you know, make them understand how important, you know, an election is. Not only just election, but, you know, the exercise of democracy.
Look, I think there's a number of things to this. One is that there's still a culture of, I know this party, I'm going to vote for this party, and if I'm angry with this party, then I'm going to stay home. Doesn't help you. It actually then entrenches that same organization back into power. I think there's a need for a civic education to take place before we even go to the politicians. I think there's a need for civic education to take place to let people learn about the importance of voting and hold us as political parties and public representatives to account. But over and above that, I think there's also a need, because we are seeing the lowest turnout of young people coming out to vote as well, which then says that maybe from a political party perspective, our message might not be resonating or might not be exciting young people. So that is something that we are going to now reflect on and say, how do we then deal with that going forward? So I think there's a combination of things that needs to happen in order for us to then change the mood or change the attitude of people towards coming out and voting.
Overall, confident, notwithstanding all the challenges you've spoken about, confident that you're going to do better in this election than 2016?
I can tell you one thing, we're going to do better than most of the parties.
See how that goes. Solely, of course, many of you will remember him as the former mayor of Tshwane, which is where the National Results Center is. We'll continue to get the pulse of both the political parties that are here from their agents, but also in about 15 minutes time or so, we're expecting the IEC to come here and brief the nation about how things have been going. Lots of problems being raised by the political parties we've just spoken to. Earlier throughout the day, our reporters have been out and about, also trying to get the pulse of the people on the ground. There again, there has been a fair degree of complaints being raised by people on the ground. The journalists who are here from all over will of course be putting some of these questions to the IEC itself. That briefing expected to start at 7 o'clock, and we'll bring it to you live here on the SABC. For now,